We never had an American woman win a medal in the Olympics in judo, and I was the first one. I'm not scared to set lofty goals, and if I feel like the positive mark that I can make in the sport is be recognized as like, oh, if it wasn't for Ronda Rousey, women's MMA wouldn't be where it is today. Because I know I can say that about Gina Carano. I never would have fought if it wasn't for her. She made me see that there's a possibility for women to actually have a career in women's MMA, and I want the next generation of girls to look at me in the same way.
So Ronda's fighting on Friday. Strikeforce card, Ticketmaster.com or 944-3200. Tickets as cheap as $40. Antoine Britt is at the top of the card as well. It's a Strikeforce card at the Palms in the Pearl Theater. So your judo background, from what I know about judo, I think you've already experienced sexism, no? Because reading about the judo world, especially in Japan, it's pretty crazy. Like women, I don't know that women have always been welcome in the world of judo.
No, I've been used to adversity ever since the beginning. There's never been a dojo or a gym that I've walked into where I've felt welcome right away. I always had to fight for, respect and recognition. And, I'm actually pretty good at convincing people that I should be around. So, judo comes from, it's kind of a misogynistic sport. And even Jigoro Kano, who invented judo, didn't want women competing, so I kind of like, the guy who invented judo is kind of like, screw him, I'm going to fight anyway. And, Dana White and all these guys don't really want, not really big fans of, women competing in MMA. Well, screw them, I'm going to fight anyway. I'm just kind of used to that attitude. So, I'm going to convince them. And, I've seen Dana White say plenty of things that would never happen and then him change his mind a couple months later, If I can do my part to prove that this is a profitable and real legitimate sport, women's MMA, then they're going to come around and they're going to promote it.
Did you read the story about there was a Japanese woman, who's 98 years old, who actually became, I think it's like a 10th degree
Fukuda?
black belt. And she
hates my mom.
Really?
Yeah, because she was big into like kata and having women do kata instead of competing. And they had this thing called the judo dance where they had the women, instead of competing, they had them do some dance where they sang and they turned around and did like a serenagi. And my mom just was sitting in the crowd like laughing her ass off. She's like, oh my God, these people in Northern California, they have such a great sense of humor. They're making fun of all this stuff because they would have falling competitions for the women. And they would have kata competition, anything to keep them from competing. And my mom's like the roughest woman around, she's like, screw that, I want to fight. If you met my mother, you'd love her. And so then Fukuda had someone down. They're like, excuse me, but Sensei Fukuda is offended by you laughing. And then my mom's like, wait, they're serious about the women doing this judo dance thing instead? And she started laughing even harder. So great for her being a 10th Dan, but she doesn't have a great history with our family.
All right. Ronda Rousey's with us. She's fighting on the Strikeforce card. So why make the change to mixed martial arts? Obviously, that's the way you can make money, but what else interested you?
I was just kind of tired of not living in LA. I knew what it took to be the best in the world in judo, and I just was living places I didn't want to be, and I didn't want to live in Boston anymore. I didn't want to live in Japan. I was just miserable doing training, and I didn't want to spend 4 years being unhappy so I could be happy for one day. Because after I won my last Olympic medal, you win the Olympic medal and everything's great and fine and dandy for a while, and then real life starts again. It's not a high that lasts forever.
What would you do in real life for the next 4 years to get ready for the 2012? Like, what would your real life consist of? How would you make money? What would you do?
Well, I was actually just got signed to fight for Team Komatsu in Japan. And I was going to live with their team there and then have me go to Japanese school. And I would technically work at the company, but pretty much I'd be on the company team and train with their girls. And then I would train there for a year, and I'd probably go back to Jimmy's in Boston and train. And it's just they're both cold places. I don't like being cold.
It's all weather related.
Yeah, and like my joints. It's just judo is so much harder on your body than MMA is.
You're an old 24.
Yeah, I'm like a 2010 Camaro with like 300,000 miles on it.
Very nice. You work with some of the judo guys in Southern California in particular. Do you get a chance to work with Judo Gene LaBelle?
Yeah, he's going to be in my corner this weekend.
How cool is that? Tell people, for the casual fans who don't know Judo Gene, he, for me, just watching from a distance, the guy just seems cool. He's 78.
Yeah, Judo Gene LaBelle is the guy that choked out Steven Seagal till he fans. That's what he's mostly known
I was
for.
hoping you heard that story. I was going to throw that at you. That's why I like it. The fact
totally
that,
true.
yes, on radio we like to say he pooped his pants. So,
oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can take care of that.
Sorry, poop.
But he actually tell that story because I've heard it, ninth hand. They were on a movie set, I think, and Seagal was talking trash and you can't choke me out.
Yeah. So what I heard, I love the Joe Rogan retelling of this story. So he's like, oh yeah, so Gene says that Steven Seagal, he said no one could choke him out. So then I put him in a choke and he tried hitting. I guess he tried to hit him in the nuts. He was like that was his technique to keep someone from choking him out. And he was like, oh, and I guess he forgot to take a nap because then he fell asleep. And I guess he also forgot to go to the bathroom because then he went and did that then too.
Isn't that the worst? I don't know. I've never heard of someone in competition crapping themselves getting choked out. So Steven Seagal not only got choked out, but he crapped himself.
I've heard of it. I've seen people poo their pants.
So what do you think when you see Seagal after all the Team Black House wins and he's like, oh, I taught him that kick. Dude, I have respect for him. Whatever Aikido is, and I'm sure it's a discipline. And he worked hard, but come on, man.
I've done some stunts, and I've heard from a lot of stunt people that he was not so fun to work with, and he would hurt a lot of the stunt people that he worked with on purpose, and that he was went on this long tangent, Gene, you're never gonna work in Hollywood again, da 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 da, and Gene got more jobs because of it because no one could stand him. Did you ever watch that Steven Seagal, Sheriff's Deputy? I just heard the commercial and I just laughed my ass off.
He whispers.
I laughed my butt off.
He's real puffy and the wig is terrible and it's not good. It's not good. So you're fighting Julia Budd on this card. Mm-hmm. She's not a ground fighter.
No, she's not.
So what's going to happen?
She's going to try and stand up with me, and I'm going to try to. I was going to say go down with her, but it sounds bad.
Be careful with that.
I'm trying to go down to the ground, and she's going to try and stand on her feet. And I think that I'm very used to people approaching me with that kind of strategy, whereas she's never fought anyone remotely like me. So I feel very prepared for this fight.